Hi, welcome back to my channel. I hope you've been liking the content. If you do like the content and have not yet subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like buttons on all my videos. Thank you. Today I want to talk about an experience I had while living out here in the province that I get asked a lot about. It's basically what happens if you have a medical emergency and you're not near any major metro area that has, a first world hospital or first world medical care. This happened to me about 2 years ago. I was sitting with some friends, enjoying a drink and some snacks, and I had a chest pain and a side pain that I wasn't familiar with. I thought maybe I was indigested or, just not in a good feeling mood that day. So I said goodnight to my friends and I went upstairs and I tried to lay down and relax. I know it wasn't too many beers because I didn't have that many, but I was feeling like I was drunk and I didn't know why. About an hour after going upstairs, I felt extremely nauseous, and the pain in my chest and side increased a lot. I went downstairs and I vomited quite a lot. I figured, okay, whatever was in my system is hopefully out now and I should be good. And I laid back down. About an hour later, again, I got up and vomited again, and this is very abnormal for me. I normally don't vomit, I don't get sick. So my wife was concerned, and this was about 11 p.m. at night, and she wanted to go to the hospital. And I said, no, it's late. If I'm still feeling bad in the morning, we can check it out. Needless to say, the next morning I was not feeling any better. I had vomited again, and the pain had traveled down to my right side was excruciating. I had a fairly high fever, and I just was not feeling well, and I hadn't been in this position before. I wasn't sure what was going on. But like all things, I took my wife's advice and we decided to go down to the local hospital to get a checkup. Now out here in the province, in the town that I live in, there is no hospital. There's a medical clinic that is sometimes open, sometimes not. It all depends on the doctor that owns it and if he's available. And this clinic is about the size of a veterinarian office in the US for comparison. So we traveled to the next town over, and I was given several choices. Should I go to the public hospital or private hospital? And I chose private because I was hoping to get a nice private room. So we went to the emergency room at the private hospital. There was no waiting, fortunately, and I was able to sit down and talk to a triage nurse. There, I told her what I was feeling and my symptoms, and I was concerned that it might be my appendix. Because yes, I did some Googling while I was waiting to go to the hospital. She said she'll let me know, and they wanted to draw some blood work. So they drew the blood work, and I was waiting for approximately 30 minutes for the results. So the lab work came back, and the nurse was concerned that my white blood cell count was extremely high, which was indicative of an infection of some kind. And with the pain in my right side, starting in my chest the night before and then moving down, she was concerned that I might have an irritated or infected appendix. This made sense to me, so I was okay with that, and she said she was going to schedule a consultant with the doctor who was busy. So I waited around the hospital for about an hour, and then the doctor came down, looked at my lab results, felt my chest and felt my side, and determined that it was most likely my appendix. And he said I should have a surgery, and I was like, this is pretty quick diagnosis to go from there right to surgery, and not quite what I was used to. So I asked the doctor, is it possible that I get a sonogram or a CAT scan or something? I mean, we can determine what's really going on before we get cut open and just have surgery. And he said, sure, no problem, but there at his hospital, they didn't offer either of those. And if I wanted a sonogram or a CT scan, I'd have to go to another clinic outside. Meanwhile, I was not feeling well at all. I was actually laying on a bed, and they had given me an IV drip because they were concerned. So I told the doctor, I believe it's probably my appendix from my symptoms and my Google foo, which is not always great, and from the lab results that they did have. So we went ahead and scheduled the surgery for later that afternoon. So I was admitted, and I was put into a private room, which was small, but it was private. The bad part is it didn't have any Wi-Fi, that particular room, and I was kind of disappointed. Larger hospitals might have more options, but I got a private room, so that was nice. Later that evening, I was taken to a surgical room. I was prepped for surgery, and the surgery room looked clean, nice, it looked pretty modern. I didn't have any complaints about that. The nurses that were getting me ready for surgery were all polite. They spoke English very well. They understood the surgery, they understood the process. And it was about 30 minutes of prep before the anesthesiologist came in and talked to me, which is standard. He asked me about my allergies and my history of surgeries and stuff. And then he was fine, and then they all went away for about 10-15 minutes while I just sat there waiting, which was kind of odd, but my wife was with me, so that was fine. And then I would say the anesthesiologist and surgeon came in. We talked about the procedure, we talked about what was going to happen, how long the recovery is going to be, and what kind of medication I preferred. Surprisingly, I had the option of cheap antibiotics or expensive ones, and I chose the expensive ones because it's my life, right? So we started the surgery. The anesthesiologist put me out. It's pretty standard. About 10 seconds after he administered it, I don't remember much. Now, I'm not a young guy, but I really don't have any medical issues. But I've had surgeries before in my life, so this wasn't a new experience for me. However, what was a new experience was I definitely woke up during the procedure. I remember definitely waking up and looking at the doctors working on me, and I tried to move my hand. And then one doctor actually looked down at me, and then the anesthesiologist put his hands over my eyes and kept whispering, "Go to sleep, go to sleep." I felt no pain, but I very clearly woke during this procedure, and that was a first for me. That never happened to my recollection. But he put me back to sleep, and then the next thing I know, I was being transported from post-op, I'm assuming, or the surgery directly, into my private room. Now, the guys moving me from one bed to the other weren't quite as gentle as they should be, and that was when I first started feeling the pain from the operation. My wife was not happy with the treatment as they transferred me from the gurney onto my bed, and I was definitely feeling it. However, I was still not quite full there. I was still coming off the anesthesia, and it was interesting because it was like shutter screens, in and out. You know, I remember most of it, but there was gaps between things that happened and it didn't happen. The doctor come in after the surgery when I was a little more coherent and asked me about the pain levels, and I told him it was pretty sore and I was hurting. And they upped some pain meds for me, and they started all of the interfluid IV drips, the sodium as well as the water, and then the antibiotics. At this point, this is where he informed me that my appendix had actually burst. It wasn't just upset, it had already burst inside, and I might be extra sore because they had to rinse out my body cavity with whatever solution they used to rinse it out and stuff. So it was a good thing that I didn't wait too much longer. And he said I would have been really, really sick if I did. So my keynote here was, I'm glad I took my wife's advice and didn't wait any longer because it had already burst. And that's a scary situation to be in when you're out in the province and you're away from medical care that you're used to. And again, I'm happy I did this. And I'm also happy I chose the higher grade antibiotics because it turned out it took 6 days for my body to clear this infection, and that was with continuous drips, continuous medication and monitoring. I had spent 6 nights in the hospital, 7 days counting the first day, and that entire time I was not allowed to eat any solid foods, which was also very frustrating because whatever food I had ate prior to going to the hospital, I had vomited. So I basically went 7 days without any food. Now, the surgery went well, and they actually gave me a picture of the removed appendix. I won't share that because it's kind of graphic and nobody needs to see it. But I was starting to feel better. And with 6 days of no internet, I was edgy and anxious to go home and continue mending. The requirement for the doctor was that I had to make a bowel movement before I could leave. And as much as I tried, I was just empty. I didn't have anything left in me after 7 days of no food. So I had a discussion with the doctor and said, I would love to give you a bowel movement. I just don't have anything to make one. Please let me go home, and then once I'm home, and can start eating some foods, I will let you know that I was able to complete the bowel movement successfully. Now, once I got home, moving around was kind of difficult. My bedroom was upstairs, and I decided to spend a day or two downstairs first because I really just couldn't walk up and down the stairs very well. I highly recommend a belly belt, which is a medical belt that constricts your belly to reduce the pain during bowel movements, laughing, movement of any kind. And that helped me a lot with the recovery. So a week went past and I started feeling really well again, and I was happy. And it was time to schedule a post-op checkup with the doctor. It went pretty well. The doctor looked at the wound, noticed that it was healing fine, asked me about my pain and everything, and it seemed like a pretty regular post-op follow-up, so I was happy with that. There was some interesting things though that I haven't touched on yet, and mainly in the Philippines, you're not allowed to leave the hospital until you settle or pay your bill. Now, I was worried because a 6-night stay, emergency surgery, and then all the medicine, and I had no base reference for what things cost in the Philippines. So I was kind of nervous. However, the entire process and procedure, everything included, including the post-op care and follow-up schedules, which was all included, was 180,000 pesos. And we'll convert the math here, and I'll tell you how cheap that really is. And even cheaper is 25,000 was knocked off by the doctor himself, who just gave me a personal discount, which I thought was great. And then another 20% was knocked off by Philhealth, which I am a member of because my wife's Filipino and she has Philhealth. So right away I had almost 50% of that 180 dropped off, and I was amazed. I was left with about a $2,200 bill for emergency surgery, 6-night stay in the hospital, and all of the medicine. Looking at the bill, the medicine was about 60% of the cost, and that's amazing in itself. Anyways, needless to say, we paid the money. I was released, and then all the follow-up went just fine. So for those that are worried about medical care here in the Philippines, it's available. If you're out in the province, you might have to travel an hour or so to the next larger size hospital. And even some of the larger hospitals won't offer all the services you need, like a sonogram or a CT scan or something of that nature. So it's kind of a hassle, but at the end of the day, I didn't die. And I had a large procedure and stay at a hospital for just over $2,500 US, which is amazing to me. Yeah, I'm alive, and I have no more fears about using the hospitals out here in the province, and I wish to convey that to you guys here. And that's the whole reason for this video. I've seen a lot of posts lately regarding medical issues for expats and their fear, and some of them willing to travel all the way back to the US just to be sure. And I'm telling you, the doctors out here are first rate. Maybe the provinces doesn't have all the fancy equipment, but the doctors are doctors, and they're used to this kind of stuff. Now, on a sad note, I did ask the doctor how many Filipinos tend to die from burst appendixes, and it seems a lot. A lot of Filipinos who have the symptoms I have will just try to wait it out until it's too late because they don't have the money, and that's a shame. But that's life out here in the province, and I would like to thank you for watching it all the way through. If you have any questions about my procedures, please leave a comment below. And if you like this content, again, please subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you.